So I want to get into my story because I think it's important to kind of give my background and tell you how I've gone about building my wealth and what that looks like today. So I'm child number 4. I'm born to 2 Haitian immigrant parents. They came over to New York in the 70s, young, early 20s, without a college education. Fortunately for me, I was born in the United States, which gives me access. That's the part of luck that was assigned to me, right? I had no control over that. I ended up in a country that has good monetary policies and has really benefited me in my life. However, my parents valued education, and they valued pursuing education to advance themselves economically. And that's something that I got to see. So early on, I grew up maybe from 0 to 4 years old. We grew up in a 1-bedroom apartment on the border of Harlem and Upper West Side. Ended up moving to Jamaica, Queens. That was the advance in our life. So we had 7 people, between 5 and 7 people living in our 1-bedroom apartment at any given time, which sounds a little crazy for the average American. And eventually my parents got the idea to move on over to Jamaica, Queens, where we could have a house, a yard, that sort of thing. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and for those of you who aren't familiar with New York City in that time, major crack problem, okay? So I remember seeing crack vials all over the floor, being exposed to things that I shouldn't have been exposed to at a young age. Knew 4 people that were murdered by the time I was 14 years old, 1 which I witnessed. So that gives you a sense of the environment that I was in. And as a Black male in America, in that time, there was like this standard that was like you had the high probability of being dead or in prison by the age of 25. That was something that was reinforced in the news, reinforced in the household, and my environment. So I'm speaking about this to say, well, that was the early years of my life, right? Growing up in an environment that was ridden by drugs with this concept, the social concept that as a male, a Black male, I had a high probability of failure in life. And also the trauma of next door neighbor being killed, young kids 11 years old, 14 years old, 1 kid killed for stealing Chinese food. This is the environment that I was in. At the time, I didn't think of it as being strange, it was home, okay? Fortunately for me, my mother was entrepreneurial. She decided to start a healthcare staffing company or nursing agency. And I was working with her in that. And I also had one gentleman on my block who his father owned a used car dealership. And he also took like a trades course to do auto body work. So he had the idea of flipping salvage vehicles. So I'll explain what that is, and it really sets a tone for how my life progressed. So on one hand, I'm working with my mom in the healthcare staffing company, and whenever I had time, since I loved cars and I always liked to try new things, I was working in Max's auto body shop, which was his garage in his backyard, okay? Just to put it into perspective. So I got to learn how the insurance system functions. See, when you wreck your car, right, and you get that payout because it's a total loss, the insurance company doesn't just take a loss. They actually take that vehicle, send it to the salvage auctions. So dealers and other people who are in the auto industry are able to buy these damaged vehicles with one of 2 absolute functions. Either they're gonna fix these cars up and resell them on the market, or they're junkyards and they're buying these cars so that they can parse them out and sell the parts to whoever is consuming used car parts. It could be tires, batteries, interiors, you name it, these things get resold. So at 14 years old, I'm dealing with my mom's agency, and I'm going to auctions whenever I was off from school, watching this process in real time, working on these cars, etc. So another thing happened to me at that same time. I was exposed to more concepts of how to make money, and I started to really build a sense that you can create value by just what you do with your time, okay? Since then, we opened a nurse staffing firm, home healthcare agency. I started getting into real estate out of need. Another story, just a side story. When my mother decided to buy our home in Queens, she wanted to have a large yard for her kids to play. It turned out that our home was on a double lot. So one day some gentleman comes over and offers her $100,000 for her lot, which was $10,000 more than what she paid for the house. She thought it was a good idea. We thought nothing could be done with the yard anyway, sold it. They built a 2-family home in 6 months and sold that 2-family home for $650,000. At that point, I realized I've been playing the game a little bit wrong. Here I was thinking that this was just a parcel of grass, yet this guy had the vision and the know-how to convert this parcel of grass into $650,000 of value. Okay, so that kind of stayed in my mind, along with the salvage of automobiles and the experience with healthcare. Later on, going to college, we expanded into businesses, and I always felt burnt by that experience and knew that I would need to participate more in real estate investing, okay? So the majority of my wealth comes from 2 places, healthcare and real estate. As of today, unfortunately I have to share this because this is important, but as of today, my net worth sits around $5 million. And that's a combination of company valuation, cash on hand, equity in real estate. Now, that doesn't mean I'm walking around with $5 million in the bank. There's a good amount in there, but it's not 5 million. But according to my personal income statement and in my personal balance sheet, that's my net worth. And I plan on getting that higher, and I will continue to get that higher. But it came from accumulating assets and making the right decisions from as early as I can remember, okay? And as you make more money, that process accelerates.